kind of want it to be like a jacket. You can really see that line of demarcation where the drop shoulder ended. It has everything that I want, but it just has that drop shoulder, you know, that I'm just not in love with. What I am thinking is combining a couple patterns, and I don't know if this is going to be too overwhelming. I think the base pattern that I'm going to go with is the Dagmar Jacket. I'm going to try to make this a saddle shoulder construction. I have knit the Cardigan number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. So this is what I mean by the saddle goes seamlessly into the arm. I'm thinking of taking that center motif and carrying it all the way up the arm. In my mind, I feel like I can do it. And that's a toxic trait of mine, is if it's something that I want to do, I feel like I can do it. I don't know. So I've started making the saddles. I tried a couple needle sizes to figure out which one I wanted to go for. And I settled on 4.5mm needles to meet gauge. These kind of end up working out to be like a gauge swatch as well. And what I did to figure out how big to make them is in the Cardigan number 9 pattern, there's a certain ratio of how much you pick up. So what I did is I took how many stitches would be across the back on the Dagmar cardigan. It's worked with knitting increases flat, but I'm going to modify it to be short rows. So basically I calculated like each row to be a stitch. Then I multiplied it by the ratio. So let's say you pick up 1 every 2. That's not the ratio, but let's say if it was that, and I needed to have 30 stitches along the back, then I would have made this 60 rows long, so that if I'm picking up 1 every 2, there'll be 30. So the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to pick up the whole length across the back, and then I'm going to work short rows starting from behind the neck center, and then in the pattern where you go side to side and increase, I'm going to end up with a long strip of stitches, and I'm going to start here, knit to here where it says that to increase I'm going to knit a couple stitches extra, short row, go back this way, short row, go back this way, short row, go back this way, until I end up knitting like the full length, if that makes sense. Maybe I'll figure out a way to do like a voiceover or schematic or something to make it make more sense. I'm filming in the evening, so bear with the lighting. I picked up, according to the ratio along the back here, the way that the pattern is written, you just cast on for this back neck and then you knit increases all the way down to the end of the back. So what I did is I counted how many increase rows there were in the pattern for my size. And because I'm going to do it as short rows, each short row turn is going to be an increase row. And so I picked up that amount of stitches along the side. So I'll turn 1 stitch after the last when I'm doing my short rows. And then I cast on across, which will be the back of the neck. And so this is the number that the pattern tells you to cast on initially before doing the increases. And then I'm just still picking up on this one. These will end up being the kind of shoulders, and my head will go here. And then I will finish knitting the back, and then I'll pick up and knit the front and shape around the collar for the neckline. This looks very square, but that's how it looked with the Cardigan number 9 too, before you end up like picking up and shaping, and then in the end it should be good. I think I will check in again maybe once I have started knitting some of the back and done some of the short rows, so you can kind of see how it comes together. last time that I recorded, I was still casting on to do the back. I had picked up along here and then I cast on for the back, and then I was picking up along this saddle there. So I started here. So I slipped all these stitches and then started knitting from here, and then I went across to here. And then what I ended up doing is I did German short rows, and in order to do the turns I had to knit 2 extra stitches after the kind of wonky stitch that's like the turn stitch. So I knit across and then knit the turn stitch, knit 2 stitches, and then go back and then keep going back and forth. When I knit the 2 stitches and then did the turn, I had 1 extra stitch to work going back the other way. And so I did that just to follow the chart. I did mess up in the beginning, just because with this yarn and when you're first establishing the knits and purls, it's kind of hard to see. So I kind of lost track of where I was and ended up knitting the same row twice, I think. So there is one of the honeycombs that's bigger than the other ones, but I think once I'm done and I put the collar on and I'm wearing my hair down, you won't be able to tell. So that's fine. And it actually worked out perfect. The honeycomb feels kind of tight, and I didn't swatch with the honeycomb. I just swatched these saddle shoulders as my gauge swatch. These turned out to be fine, like these are to gauge that the pattern has. So I'm hoping that this isn't tighter than the pattern gauge. So we'll see. I think it'll relax and I think it'll be a good size. Yeah, I mean, it worked out pretty well. Switching it to the German short rows, I didn't have any issues. When I learned how to knit cables, always knit without a cable needle. And I was doing that for, I would say, up until pretty much, I mean, I finished all the increases, like all the short rows, knitting everything without a cable needle. And it was really starting to hurt my hands. And so I don't know why I haven't used a cable needle up until now, but just this like last section, I started using a cable needle and it's made it so much easier, so much less strain on my hands. So I think I'm going to continue doing that. Just for the honeycomb, I still knit without a cable needle for the rest of the pattern, just because I don't like having to pick it up and put it down, and then it's like you get it set up on the couch, and then you have a blanket, you have your tea, and then the cable needle is missing, and then you have to get up, you're searching through the couch for it. So I just don't like to use one if I don't have to, but I feel like with the honeycomb, I'll admit defeat, and I will use one because it is way easier on my arms and my hands with using one. In this pattern, there's no underarm shaping. It just wants you to knit all the way down, and then even when you pick up for the sleeves, I think he only cast on like 1 stitch, so there's nothing like cast on in the middle. And then I compared this to my cardigan number 9 that I've made before, and it was looking a little bit skinny width-wise. I do know that the cables are going to relax, so maybe it would have been fine, but I just really feel like it would be more detrimental if this was too small versus if it was too big, because I'm wanting to wear it as a jacket anyway, so if it's oversized, then that just means that I can wear thicker things underneath. So that I don't really see as an issue, but if it was too small, then I would be really upset if I spent all the time and then wasn't able to wear it as a jacket. So I just did a couple increases along the sides, just like 2, I guess that's 4 stitches, just like 2 rows. And so I was originally knitting the size, I think, extra small. And so now that I've done 2 additional increases, it works out to be the size small. Or maybe I was knitting the small and now it's the size medium, something like that. But essentially now it should be sized up from what the pattern stitches are, and debating on how it looks once I've knit the front and I'm trying it on. I might cast on additional stitches under the arm as well, just to give it a little bit more room, but we'll see once we get there. I don't know if you can hear me cooking the sizzling in the background, but we move. So I picked up along the saddle for the front, and then the way that the pattern works is it's as you start off, you pick up stitches from the back because you wouldn't have this saddle, and you knit forward for a length, just straight, no increases or decreases, and then you start to increase for the neckline. So what I did is I just omitted that section where you're knitting straight, and then I started just right before doing the increases. In the cardigan number 9 pattern, you do work a few short rows, like just 2 rows of short rows in the front here, and that's just to bring the collar down a little bit. I don't know if I needed to do that for this pattern, but I did, just to make it like similar to the cardigan number 9. I think the last time that I filmed, I was worried about it being too narrow, so I had added some increases along the sides of the back. And I realized that because I had the shoulder sleeves on this, like, essentially like a big safety pin clip, that also was restricting how far it would actually stretch. So I think it's actually going to be fine. I think like there's plenty of room in the underarm, and I think that the shoulder will relax some as I block it. The neckline looks like it is pretty big, but that's how the cardigan number 9 pattern looked like too until you picked up and knit the stitches. And I'm planning on doing the double knitting feature before getting into the collar. We'll see how that tightens up, and I feel like that's more adjustable because I can always just pick up less stitches if I want to kind of cinch in the neck. Just to show how the saddle is sitting, that is how the back is looking as well. Setback, I think. Just got off work and I was ready to get started on knitting this. I finished the right front, I was working on the left front, and I was almost nearing the end, and then I realized that the cable row that I'm about to come up, the cable chart for this section doesn't match for this section. I was like, okay, what's going on? If you see on the shoulders here, there's kind of like a double twist for these diamond cables, but then I realized that I only did one twist. I didn't do the double twist. So then I was like, oh, let me just go check my other side just to make sure that everything's the same. And I saw the first one and I did do the double twist, so I'm like, okay, that's good. But then down here, I also only did a single twist. Not only do I need to frog the front here up until the twist, I also need to frog this front as well. I mean, from far away you can't really tell, but I know that probably later on it'll bother me, and the more that I keep doing, the more that it'll just be a frog in the end. So I think I'm gonna unravel this side first because I already have it on the needles, and then just finish it, and then I'll go back and unravel this side up until the twist. It's not that many rows, probably like maybe 6 rows. That's pretty good for that being the biggest setback so far. So unraveled back to where I did the first cross, so now I'll do the second cross and keep going. Luckily this yarn is pretty rustic, so I'm not worried about it unraveling, so these should be pretty easy just to slip back on the needles and keep going. We've got the fronts done. So now it's time to join the front and the back in the underarm. And I'm just debating whether I want to add any additional stitches. The armhole definitely looks decently deep, and I'm imagining that this is probably gonna stretch out some, and then those are gonna be probably like 1.5 inches maybe for the button band. So maybe that's looking okay. I forget exactly what the last thing that I updated on, but I think it was just after joining in the round. From there, I just continued working down. The hard part was really just the top shaping, getting the yoke and getting the shoulders and the back shaping. So once I joined it in the round around the body, I kind of lost steam. And I started and finished quite a few projects like since then. I ended up going with a cropped fit, so it hits just about at my hips. When I did the button band, I was a little bit concerned that the neckline was going to be way too big. I did a modification, the same technique that's used in the Cardigan number 9, and in that one you do double ribbing for a couple rows before you get into the 1x1 ribbing. I picked up the recommended amount of stitches for the Dagmar cardigan, and then I just did those 2 rows of double knitting before getting back to 1x1 ribbing, and I find that that added quite a bit of structure here. I think that that played a role in kind of cinching in the neckline here. I did have to kind of fudge the numbers in terms of my pickup rate in order for it to be the same total number of stitches as was recommended for the Dagmar cardigan. I think with doing the saddle shoulder modification, I did have more stitches. I had to skip more stitches in order to end up with the same amount of stitches in the end. The method for doing the buttonholes, I did follow the Dagmar cardigan instructions, and I've never done them this way before, but it makes them be like quite hidden. I haven't added the buttons onto the other side yet, but I feel like the way that I've done buttonholes in the past, you can like still see the holes even when the button's not through it. But with this technique, the way that PetiteKnit did it, they're like almost invisible unless you're actually putting something through the hole. So I think going forward, I will adopt that technique for any future buttons. The next thing to do is to slip these stitches on hold back onto my working needle, and then I'm just going to pick up stitches around the arm, continue working down in the round, and I think that that should be quite simple. Last time I talked, I think I was mentioning starting on the sleeves. I'm not at home. I don't have access to my full yarn stash. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to be going back home, and I want to finish this cardigan. This yarn is also sold in the local yarn shop here in the city that I'm staying in right now. So I decided to pop in and just buy some extra skeins. I did check the lot that this one was, and the local yarn shop here did have the same color lot, so I assumed that it would be the same. So I bought 2 skeins just because I thought I probably may only use one, but it's good to have another one in case. And so I bought that. I came home, I started working on it at night, and everything was going fine. And then now in the daylight, I think you can see here, there's a pretty sharp line of demarcation where the color is different. So the new skein that I bought is quite a bit darker, noticeably darker to me. Like, to my eye looking at it, I can tell that it's darker. Maybe if you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't notice. But I feel like, especially because the whole point of wanting to do the saddle shoulder modification was to have the shoulder arm kind of go seamlessly into the sleeve. Having that line there isn't really, that's not really the move. Yeah, I think you can see that pretty clear. I mean, maybe this was good to just do as an experiment, because if you can see from the wiggling here, the way that I picked up stitches around the sleeve isn't working out. I feel like there's more fabric on the front than there is on the back. So the saddle isn't totally aligned at like the very top of the shoulder. It's kind of a little bit off to the back. There's less non-saddle stitches to pick up on the back than there is on the front. And I tried picking up so that there's an equal number of stitches on the front and the back, and that just worked out to having the front look fine and, you know, kind of flat, and then the back looks super wavy because I'm picking up way too many stitches than what reasonably I should. I was picking up 2 out of 3 stitches on the front, so I was doing 2, skipping 1, doing 2, skipping 1. And then in order for that to be the same as the back, I was picking up pretty much every single stitch on the back, which isn't working out. So what I'm thinking I will do is temporarily put this product on hold until I get back home. Ripping this all back, I'm going to pick up the same ratio of stitches on the front and the back so that this kind of pooling doesn't happen. I'm just gonna not be bothered by there not being an equal number of stitches in the front and the back. I'm gonna use that original dye lot to slip the stitches back on, pick up the ratio like I mentioned, and keep on knitting. Hopefully in an ideal world, if I have enough to do just the sleeves in the original dye lot, and then down by the cuff, it's not going to bother me as much as if it's like right here, right next to the whole body being a different color. And then in terms of the yarn that I got here, that is that darker dye lot. I mean, I've only undone 1 skein and I bought 2, so I could in theory return the second skein, but I'm also thinking I might just buy more yarn in this darker dye lot since I already broke into 1 skein and use that for a sweater project. I've been wanting to have a sweater that I can wear kind of like a sweatshirt at home. A lot of my sweaters are like DK weight, worsted, but like kind of on the lighter side. I do want one that's like an Aran weight that I can throw on and wear at home and not be too worried about it. And I think that having one in this kind of chocolate brown color would be great, especially for not being concerned about it getting dirty or like spilling tea or coffee or whatever because I'm clumsy at home. I'm thinking that I could make turtleneck, mock neck probably. Yeah, so we will see. So I think that this yarn that I bought that's the wrong color won't go to waste. Last time I talked to the camera, I had attached the skein that was the wrong dye lot and it was all the wrong color. I've since come back home and I have access to my normal yarn stash. So I do have enough yarn in stash of the correct dye lot to finish it. I don't know if you can tell from this side that I haven't started yet, but there's a bit of puckering on the front panel. I did omit some rows of the front to accommodate the fact that I am doing the saddle shoulder, so I didn't start right at the top of the chart. I like omitted, I forgot how many rows. Maybe I've already talked about it, but I think I probably didn't omit enough because the way that it stands, there's more fabric on the front than there is at the back. So there's kind of some buckling on that side. So what I've done to try to counteract that is that I picked up with less frequency along the front, alternating picking up every other stitch, and I would pick up, skip 2 stitches, pick up. On the back, I picked up 2 out of 3 stitches. There is still more on the front than the back, but I feel like it's less pronounced, and now that I've picked up, there isn't that like extra fabric puckering on the front. So I did slip the saddle stitches back on. You can kind of see the line there, but this is just due to the fact that I blocked the saddles beforehand. So it's just the line showing blocked versus unblocked. Another thing that I decided to do was on the pattern, there's also like a honeycomb cable section on the side, which I decided to omit just because I didn't include it in the saddle itself, because I thought that that would make it too wide of a saddle. The whole point of me modifying it is to have it go seamless from the shoulder down. So I wouldn't want the honeycomb starting like right here, because then that still gives me the same type of aesthetic that I've been trying to avoid. From the front, it kind of just looks like it's just the textured stitch. And then from the side, you can see that there is that saddle going down. And I think that the sleeve is working out to be a good width. I can definitely wear a sweater underneath this. I'm decreasing 2 stitches every 10 rows. The way that I picked up, I ended up picking up less than what the pattern says for the circumference. The pattern also recommends to decrease at a shorter interval. So I think that because I picked up less, I'm going to decrease at a slower interval. That way, overall, the slope will end up being around the same when I get to the cuff. The Dagmar Jacket does, on the sample photos, have toggle buttons similar to this. And with this one, this was my second cardigan number 9. And I've done the toggle buttons with both versions that I made. So I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of not over the toggle buttons, but I wanted to just do something a little bit different. And I do have these kind of like marbly looking buttons, and they're like a light, like kind of caramel color. Just imagine this color of button with this cardigan. But I like the contrast, the lighter colored button with the cardigan. That is it so far. I am really pleased with how this worked out. I think that the work done to modify it is worth it. What I said on the last episode, I'll crop all these out if I'm being redundant. I ended up casting on less stitches than was recommended in the pattern. So I decreased over a larger interval, and I actually ended up with the exact amount at the cuff that the pattern recommends. The sleeve is looking a little bit big. The body is kind of cinched in because I haven't blocked it. So I feel like once I block the body, it'll look proportional to the body. It won't look like the sleeves are too big. I think that this is easier to see standing up. So that is what the sleeve is looking like. That's what it looks like from the back. And then with the saddle shoulder. So success. I did want to end on an open portion for the cable, just because I ended the body like that and I wanted it to kind of look like similar to that. And now just for the other sleeve. I've been working the sleeves on magic loop because although I do have short fixed circulars that are 4.5 millimeters, the circumference is almost not wide enough to where my stitches felt really bunched, and especially with the kind of moss stitch texture, I don't know, like I did a couple rows and the tension was looking kind of weird and like too tight compared to the rest of it. So I just switched to doing long circular needles and magic loop, but I feel like I'm not enjoying the experience. I literally have like 10 rows left and then my cuff, so I know I need to just power through, especially because I cast this on so long ago now. I just want to be done. I want to be able to wear it, and I feel like I'm just like done working on it. In the beginning it was really exciting when I was kind of coming up with the concept of how I was going to construct it and doing all the math and the planning, but pretty much once I got the body done and joined in the round, it's been less motivating, and I just like want to skip to the end and have it done. I am glad that I recorded this because I didn't write down my pickup ratio when I was picking up for the first sleeve, so I actually watched a clip back to see how to pick up. And I also realized that I guess when I initially made both saddles, I made them the same. So in the pattern it has the cables on the right arm twisting right and the cables on the left arm twisting left. But when I made my two saddles initially, I made them both left leaning cables on both sides. So I'm doing the right arm right now, but the cables all twist to the left. And I wasn't going to change it because I already started doing that with the saddle. So I just kept it the same all the way down, and I feel like it's not noticeable. I don't really have that much to add. I pretty much touched on everything throughout the process of filming. I feel like this project is just a testament to how far I have come with my knitting. So it's been about almost 2.5 years now, and going from my very first project to now being able to do something with a lot of texture, and being able to modify the pattern, it's just really rewarding. So if any of you are also thinking of modifying the pattern to be a saddle shoulder, I wouldn't do too much differently other than, like I said, I think that I didn't omit enough in the front. However, with the modification that I did where I kind of fudged the pickup rate in the front versus the back, once I finished blocking it, it did turn out fine. And I do find that the saddles sit like right on the top of the shoulder. So it kind of all fixed itself through blocking. If I would have been a monogamous knitter on this project, it definitely wouldn't have taken me this long. I had some other stuff going on and I was working on some other projects as well. So don't let that be any discouragement for you. I will make a point to try to put down as much detail as I can without giving away the Dagmar pattern on my Ravelry page. I don't typically always write everything down, but I will for this project. So if you've had the Dagmar jacket on your to knit list and you didn't like that drop shoulder construction, consider this as proof of concept that you can adapt the pattern to be a saddle shoulder. So I'd love to see if any of you do also do that modification, and if you do, be sure to tag me. My Instagram is the same as here, Angela's Creative Corner. I'll leave it on the screen here. And maybe tag it with Dagmar Jacket saddle shoulder and see who else also does this modification. There are still a few cool days and evenings for sure. I do anticipate that I'll get some more wear out of it this season before it gets too hot, and then definitely come fall and winter, I do see myself wearing this quite a bit. If there's anything I missed, leave questions down below. If this is your first time here, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, and I will catch you guys in my next video.